Hello, the explorers of the dark. You have found me catching up on my needlework. I'm such a homely girl. If only that home was semi-attached to hell. Anywho, I am Echo Shae-Lyn, the envoy of the other world, the tormentor of the lost, the sprite of the night. As winter draws in and spirits take back the land, as the veil between the realms grows thin, here are 6 poems by Morien to bother your sleep. This one is called The Witch Child Shumba-Lumba. It takes place far, far away, and yet may be still too close for comfort.
The Witch Child Shumba-Lumba by Morien. As a gentleman in common, I leave to view the light of Stonetown in the distance on this pitted lonely night. A figure sits gently rocking in the stark starlight alone, skin pale, smooth and beautiful, like moon-kissed moonstone. Black hair frames this forlorn girl, as her chest heaved and fell, her large eyes held the glint of heaven, which whisked me from my hell. Raven tells of her lost love by some foolish night of sin, and how she'd forsake her very life for one more day with him. In a gasp her presence quickens me, we talk, I free my soul, to the prospect of human closeness in a world too dark and cold. Unaccustomed as I am to the rigours of social delights, we had in mind to stroll to the city's warming lights, my thoughts carefree and fluid, while misty fields we hiked. It made no matter on this night that in the town I'm not well liked. And walk and talk we did, amid the spice of vibrant folk. While we enjoyed the tavern, I spied the little one in smoke. The witch child Shumba-Lumba, for years she's been watching me, peering out of socket eyes with crone doll on her knee. A dirty white dress with a lip painted mess wiped across one tiny cheek, curly hair in a mat and a dusty top hat, adorning a petite physique. Black dust and bilious, rotted in hideous foulness her size belies. Her skin skull white as in permanent fright, with holes instead of eyes. Tiny hands eel rising at the neck of her grim doll. I cry out, "But I can see you!" and she flees at my call. It would be rash to confront her here, in a town she knows of old. This wily ghost witch has her tricks for the hasty and the bold. But does my raven take fright of the spectre, vengeful and hateful? No, the pure in heart can't see the dark, and for this blessing I am grateful. We forsake the steamy bustle of townspeople dark and striking, heading on stead to my house on the hill, a prospect most inviting. Through my disused banquet halls, considered stately in these parts, then up to my tower of potions. You see, I too have my arts. I light the candles of protection, imbued charms from near and far. I take it to my window to view the splendour of Zanzibar. The yellow-lit town houses, moonwaves washing clean the shore, wind-scattered stars over heaven, I show the one I adore. I capture this image in a crystal sphere and freeze the moment in time. I halt the translucent crashing waves and petrify the sun's climb. It is a perfect moment, preserved like a perfect pearl. I gaze transfixed at this rare gift, for her my perfect girl.
And thus he does not see me, moving slowly from his side. I raven, snuff out the candles, I undo the rites applied. Tiptoeing down the spiral staircase, my pace increasing greatly, entering the disused banquet hall in these parts considered stately. There I spy my smoky princess, demure, dead white in the gloom. The hellish children with harrowing grin regally floats into the room. Her head lolls from side to side, venting sounds between purr and hiss. Inhaling spiteful victory, hatred bathed in bliss. I bow my head as I pass her, but she gives me not a glance. Our deal done, our tryst fulfilled, to the stair she does advance. I look back once before leaving, as if waking from my dreams. but I see no more the ghoulish girl, and all I hear are screams.
Double twine trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. You happen on me reading the book Cooking with Vincent Price. I hope there's enough of him to go around. This poem is called Sounds from the Long Dead.
Sounds from the Long Dead. Hush, tick, tick, hush, tick, tick, hush. This is a sound from the long dead. We quicken to hear your voice. We stand with you while you're sleeping, and when you're not. Hush, tick, tick, hush, tick, tick, hush. This is a sound from the long dead. We remain courteously quiet for you. So when we are close, which is all the time, your reality can continue. Hush, tick, tick, hush, tick, tick, hush. This is a sound from the long dead. Muster what strength you will, but soon you will stand with us, all silent and still.
Not all gods live up to your expectations. I should know, I've stirred a few. Some of them have lived thousands of lifetimes before the first one of your kind crawled out of the mud. The thing about gods is, they don't think the ways you do. Some think too much, some don't think at all, and some think in ways you cannot possibly understand. That's gods for you. Fun fact. Thursday is called after the Norse god Thor. And if you enjoy stories about Norse gods, it's your lucky day.
The Loki God by Morien Jones. The Loki God is a trickster god and lord of anarchy. I met him first in some remote grove. I pitched camp to give my horse rest. Food was good, company convivial. I shared much mead with that fireside guest. Then he said, "If I had a half and you had two halves, together we'd have three. And three is better than two, my friend, on this we can agree. So I'll give you my half and you keep two halves, my friend, this one's on me. And I'll do it all for free, my friend, I'll do it all for free. But at the end of the day, you'll owe me one for the price of three." So I shook his hand and slapped his back and said 'twas well met. We revelled and laughed and blessed my luck until the sun had set. But the half a thing he had for me was half a lame donkey. And even if fool to any fool would be a tad wonky. What's the use of half a thing cut off at the belly? What's the use of half a thing? I could not think of any. He answered not, but with his sword cleaved my great steed in twain. The front fell forward, the back fell back, and thus my horse was slain. He pointed to the bloody bits, his eyes alight with glee. 6 legs, 1 head, and a donkey's arse, butchered that night on the moonlit grass. My half that came to 3. And the thing I owed him, 'cause I owed him 1, was my servitude forever under the rising sun. The Loki God is a trickster god and lord of anarchy. The Loki God is a lonely god, and me his company.
When your body comes of age, madness, betrayal, poisoning, sword fight, ghost, and your skull. Hamlet was one of Shakespeare's bloodiest tragedies. But what do you get when you cross that with a vat of beer? Bad and drunk. And you'll be drinking with Hamlet.
Drinking with Hamlet. By Morien Jones. To beer or not to beer? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the tonics and spritzers of outrageous boredom, or take a beer against the sea of no beers, and by drinking, drink 'em. To drink, to sober no more, and by a beer to say we end the sobriety and 1,000 natural spring waters that sober is heir to. It is a libation devoutly to be pissed. To drink, to drunk, to drunked. Perchance to snow. Aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of drink, what mornings may come when we've an head like 10 bears, must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of a night so long. For who would bear the whips and scorns of the morning after? The technicolor yawn, the praying to a porcelain god, the wrath of grapes, the carpenters in the forehead, the high cost of low living, the red-eyed, bushy-tongued crapulence. Poleaxed, sauced, dawn-damaged, tenderized, bottle-ached, and sick as a small hospital. The Irish flew, wearing loud shoes. Who would not beer, and grunt and sweat under a weary life, but the dread of something after beer, the hangover country, whose pains no paracetamol will work, befuddles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have, than drink and drink until we know not of. Thus consequence doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native thirst of resolution is sickened o'er with the pale ale of thought. And enterprise of great pitcher and malt liquor, with regard the barman, we turn away, and lose the name of action. Soft you now. To be fair, my shout. Beer, in thy froth, be all my sins forgot. Go again. To beer or not to beer? That.
100 sunsets as the mist settles on the graveyard. The ghosts of long dead ancestors rise, and they are all Welsh, apparently.
The Welsh Are Here by Morien Jones. We here? We showed up, didn't we? Here's not what it was though. This place, not like it was. But we all turned up, ready to do. Oh, England door, Llewellyn the last. We're all here, all of us, like the sea. But where are you? In the time before now, it was a time again. We breathed that air, we loved, we fought and lived. But that time is not for you, not you. And now is not for us. We cannot feel the ground beneath our feet, and the druids have long gone.
Life. The only thing certain about it is, eventually, you'll roll snake eyes.
Hypnostone by Morien Jones. I found a thing while prospecting. Was not sure it was mine to take, but I truly had to have it. Now it keeps me awake. I put the curio on my bookshelf for every day to see, but the more I look at it, the more it looks at me. I see it pulse and shimmer with psychedelic light, but it's powered by something sinister and fueled by the night. I drop a cloth over the thing, the rock I now despise, but I see its stony smile whenever I close my eyes. I sell it to a dealer, a proprietor of bric-and-brac, but he returns ill and shaken. The dealer brought it back. I'm soon invited to his funeral, an open casket affair, but I did not know him very well, and frankly I couldn't care. I take the effigy to a bridge and throw it away myself, but it kills the gull as it falls away. I go home, it's on my shelf. I dream of damned creatures, lines of shuffling human frames, but I never see their faces, wretches with no names. I recoil as one draws near, whispering warnings in a hiss, but I force and will myself awake. I have no time for this. I decide to attend the funeral. I go there to be kind, but I hide the idol in the coffin to ease my state of mind. I feel free of the terrible burden. I can finally move on, but I double-check the bookshelf. Yes, I'm sure that it's gone. I think of the poor bric-a-brac man. Were they all real, I wonder? But time to forget the evil rock. My troubles are 6 foot under. I sleep dreaming of the dealer after drinking whiskey alone, but I wake up in his coffin, holding the Hypnostone. You found a thing while prospecting, weren't sure it was yours to take, but you truly had to have it. Now it keeps you awake. You hold the mesmerizing idol, a slave to the hypnotic hell, but when sleep comes, it comes not alone, and soon you'll have a tale to tell. You recoil from my story while contemplating schemes, but I'm one of the nameless faceless that populate your dreams. I have words that can save you, so you can halt your grim destiny. But you force and will yourself awake. Now you're doomed to walk with me. You're doomed to walk with me. You're doomed to walk with me. You're doomed to walk with me, with me, with me, with me.
This one is a short one, the Mear.
The Mear by Morien Jones. What you have now will subside. What you hold close will not abide. But in this Mear, twixt hope and sorrow, you'll get up again tomorrow.
Chaos. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it? When a bunch of little creatures invade your house. Don't worry, it's a funny thing. Well, at least I'll be laughing anyway.
A Funny Thing by Morien Jones. There's a funny thing in our kitchen. It arrived by post today. It's kipping in the cooker. Wish it would go away. A funny thing, a funny thing. There's a funny thing in our garden. It's doing the dance for rain. It gurgled in the toilet till it shot out of the drain. A funny thing, a funny thing. There's a funny thing under my blanket. There's a funny thing in my clothes. There's a funny thing in my breakfast bowl. There's a funny thing up my nose. There's one that looks like potato, another looks like an egg, and one that looks like a bunch of grapes with an eye, a ear, and a leg. A funny thing, a funny thing. One climbed into my satchel, climbed out again in school. It's bothering my teacher and acting like a fool. I grabbed him and bagged him. Miss says he cannot stay. I trudged on back to my house. It's been a long, hard day. A funny thing, a funny thing. A funny noise, a snuffled, a muffled by a door. The door leads to a closet, a noise you don't ignore. I peer into the darkness, and now we see the king, with rhubarb for eyebrows, indeed a very funny thing. A funny thing, a funny thing. Brown and green and colours never seen, the king resplendent in slime. He wrinkles his nose and cleans between toes with a tongue that's longer than mine. With spikes down his back and bundle on lap, he eyes us suspiciously. And as a surprise, let's count his eyes. 1, 2, there's 3. The situation seems grave, but we have to be brave if we want to avoid derision. I tell you no lies, his head has 2 eyes, but his stomach gets belly vision. To add to his charms, under his arms are leathery bat-like wings, bottles and blankies, rattles and hankies, wet wipes and nappy things. We know he's the king, 'cause he has a ring and a crown of gleaming gold, but another thing is more important to him, a thing that's not very old. On his lap sits a big-eyed small thing. To this baby he coos and sings. The baby is furry, shivery and blurry, and like a microwave it pings. A funny thing, a funny thing. The king growls in our direction, his tummy eye glowers at me. I offer him strawberry jelly, if only he'd leave us be. A funny thing, a funny thing. Now the king likes his strawberry jelly, he likes all our party food. The other things come as fast as they can. Gobble gobble, those things are rude. But the king is now a-howling, gooning and ga-humping too. All things join in, a heck of a din, whatever shall we do? The baby things are missing, he's gone toodle-pip bop-bop. As we're all good, we'll lend a hand, looking high and low, non-stop. We look in the drawers behind the coats and over the neighbour's wall. We look up a tree and down the loo in case he's had a fall. The back of the sofa, under the pillows, check Mum's jewellery box, and in the basket of unwashed clothes, with all our smelly socks. Under the stairs, don't leave a nook, empty the vegetable racks. Giving up, try the last place you'd look, and behind each other's backs. Hey, what was that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that, sad strange king? It was a ping, definitely a ping of a small funny thing. A funny thing, a funny thing. He'd slipped behind the grandfather clock. We found him in a bit. The first bit was small, the second with all, and with glue together they fit. The small thing hugged his father. The king nods, it's time to be gone. With a wink from the belly and a lick of some jelly, it was a day to say so long. The king yells for his subjects, with baby high on his knee. The things gather round, on the floor they do pound. The king tuts impatiently. A cloud appears out of nowhere, answering the king's call. It shot through the door, bounced twice on the floor, and ended up climbing the wall. The cloud gathered on the ceiling, a sparkly, rambunctious affair. A rope ladder dropped, the king was not shocked, he grabbed it without a care. The things scurried skyward and vanish, up the ladder and into the cloud, braying and muttering, flailing and fluttering, but the king stood straight and proud. The king put his foot on the ladder, he salutes while raised from the ground, with cheer and shout as his air lifted out, from the baby a pinging sound. Like a zoom to the open window, all make it out somehow. We could be wrong, we think they're all gone, 'cause the house is quiet now. But there's a funny thing still with us. Take a look, it's true. There's a funny thing with a funny grin. And yes, the funny thing is you. A funny thing, a funny thing.
That's it. I hope you have enjoyed our little trip to the Shadowlands. And if you're still afraid, Shakespeare's packs it at best. If we shadows have offended, think but this and always mend it, that you have but slumbered here while these visions did appear. Pleasant dreams, everybody. Now be gone, mortal. Anywho, I'm Echo Shae-Lyn. Focus.